launching careers, allows artists to call the shots without agents or galleries intervening, and helps artists connect directly with customers across the globe willing to pay for their work. I'm not just going to be giving generic advice, you've already got Google for that, but instead, everything I share is first-hand knowledge of the strategies that I've personally used that you can start implementing today to grow your account into a professional, thriving page. Over the years, I have tried out a lot of social media strategies. Some have worked all right, but most made absolutely no impact on my follower count, engagement, or sales. However, I did unearth a few strategies that absolutely took me to the next level, and these are the exact approaches that I'll be teaching you today. It's all first-hand knowledge of what to do that will make an impact on Instagram, and I will be sharing exactly what's worked best for me. This class is essentially a toolkit to help you grow your Instagram page. Everything is broken down into short videos, and we'll be covering each key topic, using a personal account versus a business account, ideas for varying up your content in interesting and meaningful ways, tips for photographing your work so it looks professional and captivating, even if you're just using your iPhone like I do, ideas for writing compelling captions that encourages interaction with your followers, methods for driving sales by using a strong call to action, using Instagram stories to go more in depth and generate even more engagement, plus planning and scheduling methods that I use every day. I know it can be challenging to figure out what to post and what to write, so I'll also be giving ideas for what types of content to post and what to say about it, all in very specific, easy to implement examples. I'm going to be sharing my tried and true tips for everything I just mentioned. These are strategies that I personally use every time I open up the app. You'll get my best advice for growing an audience of active and engaged followers, plus how to convert these fans into paying customers that want to purchase your products. As a bonus, I'll also be sharing the biggest mistakes I see people make on Instagram, plus some simple solutions to fix this and what they should be doing instead. Throughout this class, if you have any questions, you can post them in the discussion thread down below. You can also follow me on Skillshare by clicking the follow button up top. That'll give you a notification as soon as I launch a new class or have anything to share with my students. You can follow me on Instagram at @catcoke to see how I use today's strategies in practice. And if you post about this class in your Instagram story, please tag me so I can reshare your story from my own account. All right, ready to learn my best tips for succeeding with Instagram? Let's get started. Why use Instagram as an artist? It is a visual-centric platform. As a painter, designer, illustrator, and surface designer, this is right up my alley. Visuals are the strongest component of my brand. If I were a copywriter or blogger, I'd be all over Twitter since it's all about words. If I were a vlogger, I'd be focusing on TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube. But I'm an artist and designer, and Instagram is the best platform for me to highlight my content of choice. Gorgeous, compelling visuals. Each post you make gives you the chance to gain massive exposure. I'll show you how to increase your chances of winning the viral lottery with pure strategy. Some artists use Instagram as their primary portfolio, and I use it that way to a degree. People open up their Instagram app and browse through their feed on the daily. People aren't doing the same thing on my websites. Instagram gives your audience a more in-depth look at who you are as an artist. Not only am I showcasing my portfolio pieces, but I'm also sharing the story and inspiration behind each painting. I talk about where in the world I was when I painted these lanterns, why I chose this vibrant palette, how I use watercolor in a non-traditional method to achieve this particular aesthetic with white space and color blooming. Honestly, people love learning this kind of stuff. It makes my painting more than just a pretty picture. It's now backed with a full-bodied story with added value and appreciation. And this is just one example. You can vary your content to include not just your final pieces, but show behind the scenes of your studio. You can also walk people step by step through your art process. Show how that rough sketch bloomed into this final gorgeous canvas. Show them the things around you that inspire your creativity. Let people get to know you and your art on a deep and personal level. Ultimately, this is how you build a loyal and engaged audience, grow your brand, and make a name for yourself. Another special part about Instagram. Your audience is insanely diversified. Not only are you reaching fans and potential customers, but you're also reaching business connections and potential partnerships as well. One of the reasons I got an introduction with Urban Outfitters was because one of their buyers saw my artwork on Society6, which led her to following me on Instagram. She liked my posts, but one in particular compelled her to contact me about licensing this artwork through Urban Outfitters. Making new connections like this is awesome for business, but I also reach companies that I'm already in partnerships with. I already have a variety of work available through Bed Bath & Beyond, but if I post something new and they like it, chances are they'll reach out to me about carrying that new piece for their stores as well. People don't have time to reload my website and review the new additions to my portfolio every day, but they do spend a few minutes scrolling through Instagram. This makes it such a prime opportunity to showcase my new work and bring old stuff back into the spotlight. Alright, let's talk some facts and figures. 1 billion people use Instagram every month, and over half of them log in every single day. That is a lot of potential eyes on your content. Instagram stories have revitalized the game as well. A third of the most viewed stories on Instagram are from businesses, which means you have a massive opportunity to market yourself as a brand. When you sum it up, there is so much potential for creatives of all types to use Instagram to their advantage. You can reach new customers who want to purchase your artwork, get in contact with business partners who want to carry your pieces in their stores, and expand your brand to reach more of both. Are you guys pumped up yet? So, now that I've laid out the why, let's dive into the how. If you're watching this class, chances are the number one thing you want to learn today is how to get noticed. This means getting more sales and growing your following along with your brand. Instagram is incredibly saturated with great accounts and amazing content, so it can feel pretty difficult to make a name for yourself and get noticed. This is exactly what I will be addressing today, how to break through that crowd and start growing organically. Whether you're just starting out and working on gaining your first 1,000 followers, or you're already established and in the multiple thousands already, this advice pertains to everyone. Your goal is to build a strong Instagram presence with active, engaged followers who convert into paying customers. To do this, you need to appeal to 2 absolutely essential audiences. 1, Instagram users that will become customers. You do this with consistent, quality content that provides value. 2, you have to appeal to the Instagram platform itself. This means using their algorithm to your advantage. A lot of people mess up and can't grow their accounts because they don't consider both of these together. You can have awesome content to share, but if you don't do it strategically, you are missing out big time. So, I'm going to explain exactly what I mean with both of these pretty thoroughly, starting with 1, appealing to your key audience. Your goal is to reach other Instagram users that follow you, engage with your content, and hopefully buy what you're selling. One roadblock a lot of people run into is reaching the right audience. If you're a crocheter and you use crochet-specific hashtags and follow crochet-specific accounts, chances are you are going to have a lot of fellow crocheters following you. That's definitely cool to have that community of like-minded individuals, but guess what your fellow crocheters probably aren't going to be doing? Buying your crochet. For that, you need people outside of your industry to follow you so they can see all your cool stuff and hopefully turn into customers. I struggled with this a lot when I was first getting started. I was posting my paintings and getting a lot of audience growth and interaction, but it was only from fellow artists. I had to crack into the customer audience before I began earning an income with my paintings. So, here's how I did it. 1, I introduced a call to action. In terms of increasing sales, this is hands down where I have seen the biggest positive results out of every other strategy I've implemented. In my caption, I started asking my audience to buy my art. I provided links to my Society6 shop so they knew exactly where to go to make this happen. Calls to action are absolutely crucial. If you want your audience to do something, just ask them. It sounds obvious, but I know it can be hard to put yourself out there like that. I'll dive into this a little bit later and give you a more solid understanding of how to use promotional language, especially in a way that feels on brand with you. 2, I started using more strategic hashtags. Instead of hashtagging artist, watercolor, and work in progress, I began also using hashtags that would appeal to potential customers. Home decor ideas, shop art, home improvements, This expanded my reach beyond fellow artists and put my posts in front of art connoisseurs and potential customers alike. 3. I began posting more product shots than lifestyle photos. Previously, I was only sharing final paintings on my desk with a paint palette next to the paper. It was pretty, but an image like that doesn't necessarily communicate that this is for sale. Instead, I also started posting photos of products like coffee mugs, t-shirts, phone cases, and stacks of art prints. This let my audience know at first glance that the stuff you see on my page is for sale. 4. I ran a few contests. I would post a picture of a new art print and announce a giveaway. To enter to win, I told my followers to tag 3 friends who would love this cute print. Whoever I selected as the winner would get this art print for free, plus a discount code for them and their 3 tagged friends to get 10 or 20% off everything on my Etsy shop. This did 3 awesome things for me. 1, I gained new followers thanks to the tag 3 friends terms of my contest. 2, even though they didn't win the contest, a lot of people saw the print and wanted it anyway, so they bought it from my Etsy shop. 3, this solidified my brand's position as a commercial artist with goods for sale. My feed isn't just about pretty artwork, it also highlights the things that I have for sale to my audience. 5. And last but not least, the other way I began to crack into growing an audience of paying customers, I provided value. I gave out discount codes so my audience could score my products on sale. Every time Society6 ran a promotion, I announced it to my followers that for this day only, they could save 20% off all home decor items in my Society6 shop. If there was a discount code, I shared that as well. Another value bomb. I gave tips to my audience on how to best frame art prints for their walls. I'd show an example of one of my prints, talk about how I recommended getting a 12x16 mat cut so it would fit into a standard size frame, then show how to space it out on their wall in an optimal way. Think about the value that you could provide to your audience. There is something you know that you can share, and it's going to be a huge insight or help for your audience. What is the best way you can provide this value to your ideal customer? This is how you grow your brand from a side hustle into an empire. Now that you understand how to appeal to other Instagram users and grow your account that way, let's talk about the other side of the coin, appealing to the Instagram platform itself and leveraging their algorithm to be the most beneficial to you. Real quick, what do I mean by algorithm? Instagram doesn't sort posts by new anymore. Instead, when you're scrolling down your homepage on Instagram, what you're seeing are the posts that Instagram thinks you should see based off of how relevant they might be to you. The way they choose these posts in this order is the algorithm. So your goal is to make Instagram think that whatever you're posting needs to be at the top of everyone's home feed and appear on the Explore page. This is how you get the most eyes on your content. So, how do you make Instagram decide that your posts are high priority like this? Answer: you have got to appeal to their algorithm. The number one complaint I hear people make about the algorithm is that it is constantly changing. Every time you start gaining momentum, something changes in the code and you are back at square one. While that can be absolutely true and it does suck, it's not the end of the world. The Instagram algorithm isn't just some random set of coding that you have to crack into in order to succeed. There is a strong intention behind it, and the algorithm exists to reward you if you're doing what Instagram wants you to do. And the number one thing that Instagram wants its users to do is engage with each other. That algorithm is in place to reward users who are doing this. So if you're constantly doing things that encourage high engagement, your actions are going to get noticed by the algorithm and your posts are going to get prioritized. Here are things that will benefit you in the eyes of Instagram. 1. Engage with your followers when they leave comments on your post. Like the comment by tapping the little heart. This takes 2 seconds. Then reply to their comments. If someone compliments your work, thank them. Not only does this boost engagement, but it's also the polite thing to do anyway. 2. Comment on other users' posts. It's not all about people engaging with you. It's also important for you to engage with your audience on their posts. A lot of people skip this step, but it's an important one. 3. Tag other accounts on your post when it's applicable. This does 2 things for you. 1, it shows your followers who you align your brand with. And 2, the account you tag gets a notification. If you're lucky, they decide to follow you, like your photo or comment. And bam, there's your engagement. If a brand with 1 million followers reposts your work, that is a big way to get seen. Always be genuine though. Spammy tags will get flagged and hurt you instead of help you. So when I posted a new illustration of kombucha bottles that I did on my iPad, I tagged Procreate, which is the software I use to create this illustration, Plus, I tagged Jewel Branding, which are my art reps. They go out and find new licensing partnerships on my behalf. So I definitely want them in the loop with the new pieces that I'm creating. You can tag the company that makes your art brushes, the photographer who snapped your headshots, or the gallery in which this painting is currently displayed. Don't forget to tag other accounts in your stories as well. We'll go in depth with stories later, but for now, know that when you tag someone in your story, it makes it very easy for them to share your story from their own accounts. And if they choose to do so, it's an added bonus for you. 4. Have a hashtag strategy. I see so many contrary opinions on hashtags. The algorithm changes on a moment's notice, and the truth is, no one is really sure what works best with hashtags at any given moment. But here is what's working well for me. I use a hashtag generator, and I type in a few keywords that are applicable to my posts. The one I use is called Display Purposes, but there are a lot of hashtag generator platforms out there, so feel free to try out a few and see what works best for you. I always leave my hashtags in my comments so they don't clutter up my caption. I also use the full allotted number of hashtags, which on Instagram is 30. Try to get a variety of hashtags in there. Some should be broad, like watercolor, which has over 35 million posts, aka a lot of eyes, but also pepper in more niche tags like watercolor cats, with just shy of 16,000. Popular hashtags will get more eyes on your work, but you'll quickly be lost in a sea of posts. More specific hashtags have fewer viewers, but you'll have more long-term visibility. That's why mixing it up a bit is best. 5. Post more videos. Instagram hasn't admitted that videos get a higher priority than photos, but from my personal experience, that has absolutely been the case. It also helps that videos will autoplay as your followers are scrolling down their feed, so that is definitely more attention-grabbing than a static image. 6. Post high-quality content. This one is slightly ambiguous. I mean, how does Instagram know that a photo is good or not good? But what they can track is posts that are getting a lot of engagement. And the ones that get the most engagement are usually visually striking. Bold colors, bright light with high contrast, breathtaking scenes, detailed illustrations, gorgeous interiors. These are the photos that make people stop in their scrolling and hit like. More likes and comments right out the gate, especially within the first hour, means a higher priority for more people to see your posts. 7. Post stories consistently. There's a lot of benefits to stories, and we will definitely get into that, but one of the biggest perks here is that when you post a story, your profile will pop up at the top of your followers' home feed. 8. Write compelling captions. I'm dedicating an entire lesson today to captions later on, but know that these are vital to getting your post prioritized by Instagram. The more engaging your caption, the more engagement people will have with your post. 9. And last but not least, post during peak hours. Even though Instagram doesn't sort posts by new anymore, your timing is still crucial. If you post when all of your followers are asleep, you're losing out on a lot of eyes. It all depends on when your audience is most active on Instagram. I spend about half the year in Southeast Asia, and my audience is primarily American, so any post I make in the middle of the day for me is the middle of the night in the States. Those posts have way less engagement than the posts I make when my fellow Americans are awake. For me personally, I found that the first hour is the make it or break it for post success. Alright, to sum this lesson up, whether you are a brand new account or you already have traction, the key to getting noticed on Instagram is to appeal first and foremost to your primary audience with high-quality content that provides value and encourages engagement. The final piece to that puzzle is to take action that Instagram likes to see, aka lots of engagement and activity. If you can do both of these things consistently, you are going to see growth. And this class is packed with info that will help you get there. So, without further ado, let's jump in. This lesson is a quickie, and I want to cover it before we start diving into anything else. It is a basic question. Should I switch my personal account to a business account or a creator account? If you're considering the switch and you haven't done it yet, it's probably because you're concerned about how it will affect your profile and whether or not you'll see a drop of engagement after switching. It's a pretty valid concern because Facebook absolutely prioritizes content by family and friends over business pages, so it's natural to wonder if Instagram does the same thing. So, I am here to tell you that since the rollout of business accounts on Instagram in 2016 and creator accounts in 2018, All evidence has suggested that switching to a business or creator account will only help you. You'll get access to analytics and other perks that are completely unavailable to personal accounts. My account, Cat Coke, is a creator account. It started as a personal account, and then I switched it to a business account, and finally I made the change to a creator account when that finally became an option. When I switched over from a personal account, I got access to features like Instagram Insights, which are essentially analytics, contact information, Instagram ads, and more. And if you haven't heard of creator profiles yet, here's the basic rundown. Instagram launched creator accounts, and they were aimed at users who have been using a business account like me, but don't operate under a traditional business model. Think influencers, celebrities, politicians, authors, or any household name. The difference between the two options aren't really significant, but the nature of the creator profile is designed for an individual user, while the business account is aimed for accounts that represent companies that are selling products or services. For me, the biggest difference I've seen between my old business account and my new creator account is that my inbox is now organized into 3 tabs: primary, general, and requests. It makes it easy for me to get messages from the people that I'm in regular contact with, and it hides a lot of messages that would be considered spam. Personally, I love the separation. It means that I'm no longer missing messages from close friends and business partners because it's prioritized. Access to analytics is probably the #1 reason brands switch to a business profile from a personal. Instagram calls their analytics insights, but it means the exact same thing. Insights will give you data on engagement, impressions, audience demographics, and more. You can see your top posts and stories of the week, month, year, etc. You can even filter by types of interaction. So if you're most interested in comments, you can filter by that criteria. If you are interested in sales or people converting to whatever it is you're offering, then you probably want to know how many website clicks you got. And you can filter by that as well. This is really helpful information because it will give you a sense of what types of posts are working best for you. If you have a laser focus and 80% of your posts include a call to action with the intention of getting people to click on your website, you can see exactly which of your past posts were most successful and then do more posts in the future along that same vein. Just copy the same format of the successful posts and roll it out from there. There's a lot for you to explore in the Insights section, but the #1 thing I look for is growth. Under the audience section, I want to see that my overall follower count is continuing to grow steadily. This means that I'm on track. Here, you can see how many additional users followed you and unfollowed you. And try not to take the unfollows personally, it's just part of the process. Alright, a few extra features you get on the business accounts. On your profile page, you get contact buttons so people can easily get in touch with you. And on a side note here, always have a way for people to easily email you listed right in your profile. I really never see messages from people that aren't in my direct contacts, so if anyone is trying to get a hold of me via Instagram, it's pretty much a dead end. And that goes for a lot of other brands out there as well. Instead, email is the key here. And while we're at it, always, always, always include your name if you're a solopreneur like me. Obviously, if you're a faceless company like Nike or Target, you don't need the CEO's name listed on their Instagram page. But if you're a solo artist or content creator and your brand is you, then you should have your name listed in your bio. Alright, last but not least, another massive benefit of switching over to a business profile or a creator profile is that you now get to implement paid ads if you want to. These are called promotions. You pay money, you get more eyes on your content. I'm not going to be speaking about this in my class today because I don't use paid ads. This class is about growing your account organically, aka without spending money on Instagram ads. Plus, everything I'm teaching you today is what I have personal experience with. But paid ads are an option with business accounts. If you have a personal account and you want to switch over, just type it into Google and you'll get a step-by-step instruction list for how to do so. So, I'm going to end this lesson by answering the main questions I hear people ask about personal versus business accounts. What are the main perks of a business profile? You get access to Instagram analytics about your followers and posts. You can promote your Instagram post as paid ads. You can add links to Instagram stories. You can schedule and auto-publish your post to Instagram with Instagram-approved third-party apps. Do you keep a separate personal and business feed? A lot of people do this, definitely. I don't have a personal Instagram account, but only because I have enough on my plate and I don't need another thing to manage. And to be honest, a lot of what I share on Instagram aligns with my personal life as well. So if anything, the only thing my Instagram followers are missing are selfies, food pics, and travel photos. But nobody really cares about that, and I save it for Facebook anyway. Can you use a third-party scheduler with a personal account? Right now, no. If you're looking for a way to automate or schedule your posts, your best move is to upgrade to a business or creator account. You also want to make sure that whatever third-party app you're using is officially approved by Instagram. You can check this by browsing their list of official Instagram marketing partners. If you use a third-party scheduling app that is not approved, you run the risk of getting your post shadow banned or, worst case scenario, getting your account shut down entirely. So tread very carefully here. I'll give you full details here when we get to our lesson later about automation and organization. Now that you've got the basic rundown between personal, professional, and creator accounts, let's move on to our next section. So, first things first, let's dive into the core component of how you can make an impact on Instagram. Content is king. There are a million other metrics for composing a strong social media presence, but quality content outranks everything else by far. And when I say content, what I'm talking about are the photos and videos that you upload to Instagram, plus the copy that goes along with these visuals. I could spend another 5 minutes rambling on about how important content matters to your brand, but I will spare you the lecture. Instead, let's dive right into how you can create original content that showcases your brand in the best possible light. So, your goal is to have a killer feed with content that accomplishes 3 things. 1, encourages engagement. We'll dive more into engagement later, but essentially what I mean here is posting content that your followers will like, comment, share, tag friends, all that jazz. Again, we'll go into depth with this one later, but know that content that gets the conversation rolling will outperform any other content. You want content that reflects your brand at its absolute best. These are photos of your paintings that are shot in bright daylight with gorgeous backgrounds and compelling motifs, A+ storytelling in your captions, Instagram stories that show who you are as a creator in a raw and real light, peeks inside your mind that show your audience what inspires you as a creative. Essentially, you want to post content that not only reflects your brand, but elevates it to its absolutely most aspirational. And 3, you want your posts to resonate with your audience and provide value. Your followers follow you for a reason. You've got to determine what that reason is and make sure you're fulfilling your audience. For me, my followers follow me for a few reasons. They want to scroll through their Instagram feed and see bright, beautiful artwork. My feed will definitely check that box. A good chunk of my followers are students like you who want to learn more about my process and how I run my business. I'm pretty candid about both on Instagram, so whoever follows me for that reason is definitely getting what they need. I also have followers that are digital nomads like myself. They follow me because I'll occasionally post photos and videos of wherever I am in the world and the experiences that I'm having there. I'm an art brand, so I usually tie those posts in with how it inspires my artwork. And lastly, the other chunk of my followers that I care about are the companies I work with or want to work with. These are my partners, and I want to make sure that they see me often enough in their feed. They can see my new work, learn more about who I am as an artist, traveler, and educator, and hopefully that strengthens our relationship or gets a new relationship cooking with a new company. So, all of these groups that I just mentioned are the audience that I'm thinking about every time I publish new content to Instagram. I want to make sure that what I'm posting will resonate with one or all 4 of these audience groups that I just mentioned. So, now that we've got the purpose and strategy behind our posts, let's talk about what that will actually look like in practice. Remember, this class is all about not just why to grow your Instagram presence, but how to do it as well. And I love specifics. As a visual creative, you're already 5 steps ahead of every other industry out there on Instagram in terms of having incredible content to share. We all have loads of visuals at our disposal and are in no short supply of content to post. But it's all about the strategy, so I'm going to help you look at your entire portfolio of visual images that exist now and the ones that you'll create in the future to decide what to post and why. 1. Straight up final pieces. This is the end result from a recent project, art piece, photo shoot, whatever. It's already edited and polished to perfection. This is you showing your premium best work and absolute height of your talent. This is probably about 75% of what I post on Instagram. It's all finished paintings and illustrations in their final form. It doesn't have to be fancy, just a flattened JPEG of your work. Here are some examples of what I'm talking about. It's final paintings, drawings, patterns, all the stuff that winds up as a portfolio piece. This is the stuff that I license out to my partners so they can sell it to their customers as art prints, or they print it on pillows, drinkware, apparel, the works. 2. Straight up final pieces in a lifestyle setting. This is the exact same thing as I just mentioned, except they're in an environment. No more flattened JPEGs of your artwork. I'm talking about photos of your work hung up on a beautiful wall, all matted and framed for some great lifestyle photography vibes. And pro tip, these lifestyle images don't have to be real. It's awesome if they are, but if you don't have these photos, don't let that be a stumbling block. You can definitely fake it. In fact, I fake a lot of my lifestyle photos. They're just digital mock-ups that I get online and pop my artwork into with a few clicks in Photoshop. These are called product mock-ups, and I use them all the time. It really does take my work to the next level. It shows exactly what this piece will look like on this product, whether it's a framed art print, a ceramic enamel coffee mug, wallpaper in the foyer of a living room with some soft light streaming through. You get the gist. In fact, I already have a class that shows you exactly how to make these, so please feel free to go check it out. It's called Design Top-Selling Product Mockups with Your Art. And when you enroll in the class, I provide 10 totally free mockup files thanks to my friends at Createsy. So not only will you learn how to make digital mockups, but you'll also get all the files you need absolutely for free. They're worth about $155 if you were to purchase them online, so it is a great deal. Go check it out. All right, 3, process posts. This is another form of content that people love to see. Show your initial sketches and show how they turn into this beautiful painting. Everyone loves seeing this journey, whether they are a fellow creative or not. In fact, it's probably even more interesting for non-creatives to get a glimpse into your process. I'm not a sculptor, but I find it absolutely fascinating to see how a chunk of clay becomes a masterpiece. I don't get it, and I definitely don't have those skills myself, but man, is it inspiring. So, if you're a photographer, show your original unedited first draft alongside your final photo. Not only is this cool to see, but it shows all the thought, effort, and skills that you implemented to get to this final result. Some artists shy away from showing their unfinished work, but I'm here to tell you to embrace that vulnerability. Not only will it help vary up all the content that you're posting, but it shows a well-rounded story of how you work as a creative. All right, and a pro tip here real quick. If you're worried about your Instagram feed looking junky with a rough sketch, I totally get that. I am all about the aesthetics of my feed as well. So what I do if I want to post a sketch is I tuck it into a post of multiple images. I put the pretty one first, and then you swipe through to see the rest of the photos, which include the sketches, rough draft, polishing up, etc. I have the hero shot front and center in my feed, then tuck the process photos into the lineup. 4. Studio shots. The strategy behind this is similar to showing your artistic process. Give your followers a glimpse into your workspace and let them see where the magic happens. I get that this is another vulnerable thing to show to the world, but think about all the times that you've seen the creatives that you look up to that are showing their personal space. Personally, when I see Lauren Hom or Jessica Heish posting photos of their workspaces, I analyze the hell out of those photos. I want to see what their desks look like. What brand of art markers are scattered around their paper? What murals they've painted on the walls, and what art is propped onto their shelves. I feel like it gives me an insight into their personal lives, and as a creative, I really resonate with that. And pro tip, this doesn't have to be some raw, unedited version of your home. It's not inauthentic to tidy up your desk or rearrange your succulents to look more photogenic. You can show your space in the best possible light, and you should. So, show your space, be authentic, but don't be afraid to polish it up a bit. Think of it like using a selfie mode filter on your desk. I primarily work in coffee shops and co-working spaces, so I'll often snap a photo of my laptop and a cappuccino for Instagram, and talk about the city or country that I'm living in at the moment. 5. Time-lapse videos. Instagram prioritizes video content hard, so when you post videos, you're automatically going to get more eyes on that post than if you had done a photo alone. Personally, I don't post as many videos as I should, but I do know that it's in my best interest if I want more eyes on my work. And I'm posting on Instagram because that is exactly what I want. So if you're watching this class and you're in the film industry, or you're a vlogger, or you own a drone and have some mad footage, you're probably already doing a lot of video. But for 2D visual creatives like me, my industry is all static imagery. So my final products are all flat JPEGs, patterns, drawings, you get it. Because of that, I've got to work a little harder to get video content, and the absolute simplest way for me to get good videos to share on Instagram, it is time-lapse videos. Sometimes I'll connect my phone to a tripod over my desk while I'm painting. I'll put the video in time-lapse mode, so it's literally all done for me and I don't have to do any video editing myself. And recently, I started using Procreate on my iPad to illustrate, and it has this function where it automatically records your process and can pump out a time-lapse video for you. That is the coolest thing ever because I don't have to do any extra steps. It's done for me as I draw anyway. So, prioritize videos when you can, and time-lapse videos are an easy way to do this if you're a visual creative. I'll get more into videos later when we start talking about Instagram stories. 6. Another content type that works incredibly well for me, voting between images. This goes back to the whole engagement thing, which is the key to succeeding on Instagram. An absolute guaranteed way of getting people to comment is to ask them which one they like more, A or B. People love sharing their opinions, and you can give them an outlet to do so. As an extra perk for you, when you ask people for their opinions, you can use this data as a way to determine which direction you should move forward with. I do this with color palettes all the time, and the input I get from my audience is super valuable. It shows me exactly what they're looking for, and they are absolutely my target market, so it's a win-win. Pro tip, you can ask questions and do polls really easily with Instagram stories as well. Again, we're going to dive into this when we get to the Instagram story section of this class. 7. Show your artwork in a creative way. Lay your paper on your desk and arrange your art supplies around it so people can see what materials you used. You can also add props to make it look designerly: flower buds, twigs, gems, crystals, ornaments. My best advice here is to keep it simple and let the artwork itself own the spotlight. But a few curated props can take it to the next level. One of my trademarks of my Cat Coke brand is holding up a finished piece in front of lush greenery. Artwork always looks best in natural light, so once the paint is dry, I take my paintings outside, find a blooming bush or tropical leaves, and use nature as the backdrop for my photo. Pro tip, I always make sure my nails are on point, and I like to gob a bunch of jewelry on to make things more interesting. And another pro tip, sometimes I'll just photograph a blank piece of paper in a cool setting. Later, I'll pop some final artwork in with Photoshop, and I do this to get a good stockpile of beautiful backdrops to use later. That way, if I finish a painting in a dimly lit hotel room in the middle of winter in a city with no photogenic street corners, I can still pop that artwork into my tropical setting to stay on brand. It's just another cool way of showcasing my artwork in a unique way that's consistent with my brand. 8. Show yourself. I'm not talking about gratuitous selfies with the bunny face filter, although I do like those. I'm talking about showing your audience the person behind these creative posts and what you look like. This is a great opportunity to get personal with your audience. Remember that art versus artist meme that was really popular? It went viral for a reason. People loved seeing the artists behind the artwork that they created. And pro tip, be conscious about how you're showing yourself. A close-up selfie is probably not the path forward here. Instead, have someone snap a photo of you behind your desk with all of your materials in hand and your art in front of you. If you're a photographer, get a photo of yourself holding your camera. If you're a surface designer, hold up some of your creations so the world can see what you make. If you're a muralist, get in front of that baby so we can see who painted this gorgeous piece. Trust me, some of the most successful creatives out there are front and center with their brand. Alright, before we move forward with the next lesson, I'm going to drop some quick technical tips. The two most important aspect ratios for Instagram are 1:1, which is square, and 4:5, which is portrait. Square is most common, but I'll use the full 4:5 vertical to get that much more space on everyone's feed as they're scrolling down. But do keep in mind that if you post a non-square orientation, it'll still get cropped to square in your feed. So if you care about a beautiful feed, which I definitely do, make sure that a long vertical is still going to look good cropped onto a square for your grid. Another thing I have to mention as you post your content, give yourself credits. I include my signature on every single art piece that I post to Instagram. I always find a place to tuck it in. However, if I'm showing a lifestyle photo or product, it's a little trickier, and I'll only add my signature in if it makes sense. Some people use watermarks on their posts, which is another solution here. If you do go the watermark route, just make sure that it's not detracting from your main visual. Try to tuck it into a non-obtrusive place. So, truth bomb. One of the unavoidable downsides of putting your content out there is that it will get stolen and used or monetized without your permission. This will happen to you eventually, and it's an unfortunate reality. However, by making sure that your signature or watermark is on the content that you post, you can at least have a little bit of leeway. Sure, someone can always crop it out, so it's not foolproof, but most individuals and companies that use my content without my permission just sell it as is, signature in place and everything. So the benefit there is at least I get notified from fans and followers when this does happen. And honestly, putting my artwork out there for the world to see is why I've reached this level of success. It definitely sucks when it gets stolen, but the benefits of mass exposure far outweigh the cons. Alright, next up for the visual artists out there. My best advice for photographing your artwork. Here are some of the ways that I photograph my artwork to share on Instagram. This lesson is for all the visual creatives out there who create analog or hand-done work and you want to show it beautifully as a marketing tool. So this is great for you if you create paintings, drawings, embroidery, ceramics, weaving, sculptures, murals, anything tactile. I'll specifically be talking about photographing your work for marketing purposes, aka creating gorgeous content to share on Instagram and whatever other platforms you use. When it comes to digitizing my hand-done paintings and drawings to be printed on products or licensed out to partners, I do not photograph them. Instead, I'll always scan. So in my mind, these are two separate things. If I want a beautiful shot of my painting in a lifestyle setting to share on social, I'm going to snap a photo with my camera or phone. If I want a super duper high quality digital replication of my artwork so it can be printed on throw pillows, I'm going to use a scanner. I'm only talking about creating beautiful lifestyle photos in this class. If you want to learn how to scan your artwork in with an art scanner at an extremely high resolution so it's very high quality, go check out my other class, From Paper to Screen, Digitally Editing Your Artwork in Photoshop. So, without further ado, let's dive right in. I'm going to show you a few tricks to capturing absolutely lovely and professional photos of your work. Our number one goal is to get high quality photos. This sounds obvious, but it's surprising how many otherwise incredible art pieces I see that are just shot terribly. You spend a lot of time and effort on your creations, so you want to do them justice when you show them to the world. Okay, so smartphones. They have come a long way. You can absolutely get professional looking photos of your artwork only using your phone. You don't necessarily need a fancy DSLR camera to get high quality photos. Of course, if you've got it, use it, but for me, I shoot most of my paintings with my iPhone and the rest with a point and shoot Canon that's about 5 years old. So, don't let lack of professional photographer equipment hold you back, because it definitely does not hold me back. To get high quality photos, you want to shoot in bright, natural light. I usually step outside when I'm photographing my paintings. You can also set up your artwork in front of a window and let that light stream in. I like having natural backgrounds when I'm holding up my paintings and photographing them, but sometimes I prefer a less busy look and feel. So for that, I went to a hardware store and I bought 2 wooden planks and a can of white spray paint. I'll set the boards outside under natural sunlight, and I'll photograph my paintings or products on them if I want a very clean and minimal aesthetic. I still get the professional studio shots look, but it's a completely jerry-rigged process. But as long as I get that final result I'm looking for, it doesn't really matter to me. There are so many ways to photograph your work. You can show it hanging framed on a wall. You can take an in-the-process photo of your work in the setting in which it was created. If you're a painter, show the brushes and palette you used to create your masterpiece. If you're into hand-throwing pottery, show your ceramics drying on the shelves of your studio. If you have a product of your work, you can show it in a scene where it belongs. A coffee mug held in your hands, or a pillow propped on a chair. For me, I've created a signature style for the way I photograph my paintings. So if you're swiping through Instagram and you don't necessarily recognize the artwork itself, because it's brand new and you haven't seen it yet, you'll at least recognize the photo style. I always have one arm outstretched holding onto my paper in front of a lush background. This setting has become synonymous with my brand, like a trademark, and helps reinforce my Cat Coke brand. I encourage you guys to look for your own signature style in the way that you photograph your artwork. Are you always adding your signature or final touches to your artwork like Anne Shen does? Do you show your artwork in the way it was created, like Charlie Clements does with her iPad illustrations? Are you showing your work gridded out and at a slight diagonal like Tad Carpenter does? Also, for whatever reason, flat 2D artwork always seems to look best at an angle. I have no clue why this is, but it is an unwritten fact of the art and design world. In terms of making sure that your photos are crystal clear, here are the 3 biggest mistakes I see people making. 1, the light is too dim. If you don't have enough light, your photo is going to look grainy, and bright sunlight will remove this problem entirely. 2, their lens is dirty. I always do a quick and casual wipe of my iPhone lens before I snap a photo. It takes 2 seconds and I usually use my shirt, but now it's like this ingrained behavior every time I pull out my phone to snap a picture. And as it turns out, this little step is absolutely vital since I live in the tropics most of the time. My room is air conditioned, but outside it's usually hot and muggy, which makes my camera lens and my sunglasses fog up every time I step outside. Luckily, it's not a problem here because I'm in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado in winter. The last mistake I see people make, they don't focus their lens. On an iPhone, it's literally one tap to make sure your lens is focused on your subject. I make sure that little square is right where I want it before I snap a photo. Again, this takes a millisecond, but makes a world of difference in terms of getting a crystal clear shot. I touched on this before, but aspect ratios for Instagram posts are 1:1, which is square, and 4:5, which is portrait. I use square ratios the most, but photograph my work with enough space above and below so I could easily crop to a portrait mode if I wanted to. And you absolutely want that extra space if you're going to be using these photos on an Instagram story, which is a 9:16 ratio. So what this means is when you're photographing your work, don't zoom in too closely. Give your artwork some breathing room so you can crop it in multiple orientations and have maximum flexibility with how you decide to use this photo. And in terms of photo editing, my two favorite tools here are Photoshop and ViscoCam. In Photoshop, I open up levels and use the eyedropper tool to sample my image and set the white point. It's a tiny little trick, but it makes a world of difference. If you're editing on your phone, I recommend using the Visco app to make modifications. There are a lot of editing tools on Visco, but I'll just show you the ones I use. I usually throw a filter in the C or S series onto my photo, all depending on what looks best. The C series filters are great for deepening those green tones that I usually have in my photos. And S3 is great for warming up the tones to amp up the bright, warm sunlight. While I'm in the app, I'll also bump up the contrast a smidge, as well as increase the clarity to make my artwork sharper. And now that you know the secrets to creating beautiful lifestyle photos, let's move on with the next lesson. Instagram is most definitely a visual platform, so it's easy to overlook captions or disregard them as unimportant. But I've got to tell you guys, that would be doing yourself a massive disservice. When I spend time and effort writing out a compelling caption, I see a huge increase in overall engagement for my post. That being said, sometimes I do get lazy and simply slap a few emojis on as my caption. But hey, sometimes low effort is better than no effort at all. With captions, it's more than just writing a paragraph instead of a sentence. Like everything else we're covering today, there is strategy behind your copywriting. I'll be covering the tips and tricks that have worked wonders for me. So let's get started. Captions are a great opportunity to infuse your voice into your creative brands. The photo or video that you post will absolutely be the central focus, but you can control your narrative with the caption. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. When I posted this watercolor pattern of citrus slices, I could have said something simple and straightforward in the caption like, "Here's my new pattern," and then slap a few lemon emojis on there or something. But that is super boring, and it actually degrades the time and effort that I put into creating this vibrant design. Instead, here's what I wrote. Citrus explosion. Every once in a while, I'll dive back into an older painting and make some slight tweaks to improve it. In this case, I decided to create a pattern out of my citrus slices. I isolated each chunk, then rearranged them onto a crisp white background. I also bumped up the saturation a smidge and adjusted the transparency so you can see the toothiness of that paper texture background coming through. Voila. A nice refresh on an old favorite. This caption is way better than "here's my new design." Not just because it's longer, but because I'm taking this opportunity to share valuable insights into my art process. Remember how I mentioned earlier about knowing your audience? Well, a good chunk of my following are fellow artists and students of mine. These are people that are going to get a lot of value in learning how I work behind the scenes. So by sharing this, I'm demystifying the creative process and helping people learn how they, too, can create artwork in a similar manner. And a caption like this doesn't just apply to my art audience. It's also interesting for non-industry followers to get a little glimpse of how artists like me work. Essentially, it's a win-win. And the numbers prove it. This is one of my most engaging posts of last year. So, because I like real-world examples way more than lectures, I'm going to walk through a few examples and give you ideas of how you can create an engaging caption. 1. Tell a story about how you created this piece. What's the inspiration? Why did you create it? What does it mean to you? Here's an example. I wrote this. Cactus garden, acrylic painting versus the inspiration. Swipe over to see the photo I snapped of some truly gorgeous prickly pear clusters, plus all the colorways I've been exploring. Let me know your favorites. 2. Share a beautiful image and then give a recap of how your day is going, even if it is entirely unrelated to the image itself. This sounds weird, but I actually do this all the time. It's a way for me to balance out the art side of my brands with who I am as a person. Example. Yesterday, I was motorbiking with friends in Serbia. This morning, I was snoozing away in a sleeping pod in the Moscow airport. Tonight, I'm catching up with my college BFF in New York. Life is anything but boring. This caption is entirely unrelated to the image I posted, but it's one of my highest engaging posts of all time on Instagram. So guys, this works. Example 2. You can do the same strategy, but tie your visual in more closely with what you're saying in the caption. For example, the day before Thanksgiving, I posted a photo of my sloth painting with this caption. Raise your hand if you're a fellow grown-up who will be sitting at the kids' table tomorrow. Side note, sloth-like is exactly how I'm going to feel after horsing down Thanksgiving dinner. So there it is. One little quip, and I've tied my sloth artwork into a Thanksgiving caption. 3. Ask a question. Every post should start a conversation. Remember, your goal is engagement. And asking questions is obviously the #1 way you can get that ball rolling. I literally did this when I was planning out this class. I got on Instagram and I asked my audience, you guys, exactly what you wanted to learn, and guess what? I'm using those suggestions in the curriculum today. So, side note, thank you if you responded. And 4, say something relatable, especially if it's funny. Humor is a sure shot of getting more engagement. I don't know about you guys, but I follow a lot of meme accounts. I'm not saying you have to be a comedic genius, but if you've got a quirky sense of humor, share it and let people get to know you. For example, to accompany my digital illustration, I kept the caption short and sweet. I woke up, checked my inbox, then remembered it's Saturday. Current mood, see no evil monkey emoji. Guys, that got over 1,000 likes in the first 24 hours. Here's another that artists found incredibly relatable. Shout out to all the artists out there who accidentally take a sip of their paint water while they're in the zone. We've all been there, and it's disgusting. This got a ton of comments from other artists who have absolutely been in that exact same situation, so it's very relatable. 5. Share your big wins with your audience. Did you get a piece selected for an important upcoming show? Did you get your work featured by a publication? Did you sell an original painting? Brag about yourself. Not only does it help validate you as a creative, but your followers want to cheer you on too. I think a lot of people shy away from this because they feel like it's boasting, but get over yourself. If you've had a big success, you want to let everybody know. Example, when my artwork made it into Target, I was freaking ecstatic. I channeled that energy right into my Instagram caption. I am thrilled to announce that my artwork is now officially available through Target. It's so surreal that the store where I buy swimsuits, skincare, and just about everything else is now carrying my own paintings. 6. Talk about your growth as a creative. All artists evolve. Picasso didn't just get stuck in his blue period for his entire career. His art style evolved into his rose period, his African influence period, then analytic cubism, followed by synthetic cubism, etc., etc., etc. Point is, his output changed as he grew, and so does yours. It doesn't have to be some pretentious caption about your self-defined art period, but you can show people how you've evolved over the years. Example, I shared this. One motif, 3 different mediums: watercolor, digital, and pen. Swipe through to see them all. Can you tell I was inspired by my 10 days living on a volcanic island? 7. Hard promotion. Put a super strong call to action in your caption and make a very hard sell. I know it can feel cringy to be super salesy, believe me, I do still struggle with it from time to time, but as long as you're not bombarding your audience with sales copy, it is totally fine to ask your audience to take action, whether it's a click, a conversion, or making a purchase. Example. Spoiler alert, this isn't a photo. I made this simple little scene in Photoshop using a few textures and shapes. If you've always wanted to learn Photoshop but have never really been sure where to start, check out my new Skillshare class, link in bio. See, this is a strong call to action, but I'm not being annoying or pushy. If your goal is to grow an audience, make hard promotion posts about 20% of your content. If your goal is to get people to buy your products right now, amp that up to about 80. Alright, to wrap this up, here's a few more key tips to creating a great caption. Include a call to action. Use action verbs to prompt people to do something. Check out my new class. Shop my new designs. Tag a friend who would love this print. front load the important stuff. Captions are cut off in users' feeds after 3 or 4 lines of text. While users can just tap the 3 dots to expand, most people aren't going to unless you've hooked them in your first sentence. Use emojis. They're eye-catching and add personality to your caption. Personally, I am a huge fan. Alright guys, let's move on to your next section. Instagram is good for business for a lot of reasons. You can grow your brand awareness, build a following, reach new customers, acquire social proof, interact with other brands and potential business partners, drive traffic to your website, and you can use Instagram to grow sales. Instagram is huge for driving sales. This applies to any brand out there, whether you're selling original paintings through your own website, products with your artwork on them through a print-on-demand site like Society6, maybe you're a freelance designer or business coach wanting to acquire clients, or you want people to sign up for your ebook or newsletter. Whatever the product, whether it's a physical product, an info product, or a service, you're probably interested in boosting sales with Instagram. But how do you do it without scaring off followers, saying the wrong thing, being too pushy, or making a mistake and devaluing your brand? This is what I'm going to walk you through in this lesson. And I've got to throw this in there first. If you are brand new to monetizing your business and you're not sure if you have enough followers to start selling your work, I have news for you. You only need 1 follower before you start selling. You don't need to reach some milestone of 1,000 or 10,000 followers before you start treating your page as an actual business. You can do this right now. I hear so many people say that they're not ready to transition their Instagram account into selling their stuff because they don't think they have enough followers, and they'd feel silly acting like a real business. You guys, this is such a limiting belief. There is no time like the present to start taking your business seriously. And everyone starts from somewhere. My best advice here is to bite the bullet, put yourself out there, and start identifying as a business owner because that is exactly what you are. It doesn't matter if this is your side hustle, part-time gig, or full focus. This is real, and you're not a poser for identifying as a business owner or an entrepreneur. I started my cat coke business as a side hustle while I was still working as an employee at a design agency. I worked a 9-to-5 job, but I was building my art business up on the side and getting ready to make it my full-time gig. When I registered my LLC, guess what I put as my title? President and CEO, baby. Yeah, my business was brand new and I'd barely begun to monetize it, but after working an entire career